I don't follow the court's logic then, if that's what it is.
That does go to the time, place, and manner provisions of the ordinance. That's where it has to be neutral. Yeah. And when it starts dictating various specifics, it will be overturned. It's a First Amendment abridgment, and therefore this is the only type of ordinance, if you're going to have one, that will cover that. Has a suit
been brought by people 300 feet away that this is displacement? We call this displacement. We shove something off on somewhere else. You're shoving it off on some other people now. Has there been a suit brought by people that this has been shoved off on challenging these laws?
You know, Supervisor Buster, I am not sure about that particular fact pattern.
What do you think would happen if they challenge it?
Given what you've told me, I think what would happen is they also would be protected, because you're talking about the rights of privacy and residential picketing. But understand this, the joy of residential picketing goes out the window when they're told they can't picket your home, for example. So if you live in the city of Riverside, you can't, this statute ordinance protects you.
You can allow such a theoretical opening for something that you make it virtually impossible, or it doesn't have the political effect in this case that they want to have, so they never do it. And that's what this is doing. But if it ever is done 300 feet away in front of somebody else's home, it's not fair to that person that lives 300 feet away either.
You know, I understand what you're saying, and I think what would happen, quite frankly, is the joy goes out of the picketing if they can't picket the person or the residence they wanted to picket. That's all I'm saying to you in response to that.
I understand it now.
And what I am saying is I'm concurring with County Council that time, place, and content is neutral. And if we try to do, and I understand what you're trying to do, if you try to do what you're suggesting, then there would be a constitutional argument, and it would probably be upheld. So this ordinance, this very same language has been tested in the Supreme Court and the Ninth Circuit and found to be valid.
Okay, supervisors.
Then when another dokich comes to any of our districts, we've got to protest 300 feet away. Is that correct? In front of somebody else's home.
If another Dobich comes in the city of Riverside, that their ordinance, which is the same as this, will govern. Or if it comes in the city.
How do you think the other residents 300 feet away would enjoy that?
They're not going to enjoy it, and what's going to happen is the police are going to say, for example, in the city of Riverside, you can't be here. You're within 300 feet of a residence.
No, I'm saying that they comply with it. The county passes this rule, and another dokich or dokiches come and live somewhere in one of our districts, and people want to protest that. And we tell them, well, we have a county ordinance. You can't protest that in front of the house. You have to go down the block 300 feet where they're in front of other people's homes. What do you think the effect of that is going to be?
Well, or for example, you can come to the board and say, there's a dokich situation. You can go and redress in the paper. You can redress on the radio. You can redress in television. You can do all kinds of things. Your channel is simply.
But people naturally want to go where the issue is, exactly where it is, and that is what happened in the Dokich case. And it's natural. Everybody understood that. It's natural human reaction, and they don't want to do it in front of one of the other neighbors' homes.
I understand, but right? if this had occurred in the city of Riverside, they wouldn't have been able to do it, or the city of Palm Desert. I mean,
well, I think that's an unfair restriction on people's rights.
Well, I understand your position, but the Supreme Court and the Ninth Circuit have a different
opinion. We're going to stop the debate. I think we understand Supervisor Buster's position and your position. Supervisor Stone.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I certainly understand Supervisor Buster's point and appreciate Mr. Al-Hadaf's opinion on this as an attorney as well. This ordinance is, going back to Mr. Dokich, a very controversial issue, caught the community well by surprise. I'll tell you that every home that was adjacent to the home that Mr. Dokich was in was very happy and was setting up chairs and set up places for Ken and John on KFI. It couldn't be more accommodating with noise and air guns and loudspeakers. And this was an issue that really polarized a neighborhood. And I think that the 300 feet is appropriate, and I think that we should monitor this ordinance. We don't see a lot of these residential protests going on in our county, but the ones that we have seen have been potentially very intimidating and dangerous situations. I'd even be very happy to release the pamphlet that I have of this hateful organization that doesn't like a particular religion and says very specifically what they'd like to see happen to members of that religion that is appalling, disgraceful, and embarrassing. And in a way, this becomes a little bit of a public safety issue when you get some of these extremist organizations that certainly have the right to protest, but they don't have the right to step on people's property and intimidate them into fear and to trying to escape their own private residences. This has been tested by the courts. It's been adopted by respectable municipal agencies, and we'll monitor it. And if it becomes a problem where people are protesting in front of a home adjacent to a home that is the target of the protest and they have problems, then I'm sure we will hear from them. And if we have to tailor the ordinance to make it accommodatable to all those that are affected by the ordinance, and we'll take a second look. But I think at a first glance, I think County Council seems very satisfied with it. I think it gives people that are being protested against, that especially those that are being protested by hate-mongering organizations, that they have some remedies in the event that these protests get out of control on their private property, that they have the appropriate protections that they're also afforded under the Constitution of the United States. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that we introduce ordinance number 884, regulating targeted residential picketing.
I have a motion and a second. Supervisor Tavaloni, you have any comments? Please vote on that motion.
I appreciate the extra explanations. If all this is the case, I think that ought to be challenged up through the courts again. But so that's what my no vote means.
Thank you.
I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do.
And you brought up good points.
Just a nay.
And we have the results of that vote, please.
That should be a no on my part.
This is a 4-1 vote, no on part of Supervisor Buster.